Hello, my name is Evelyn Cannell, and today I'm going to be telling you about conservation methods and their effectiveness for the Vaquita, Phocoena sinus. So the most endangered small cetacean in the world is the vaquita. This porpoise is exclusively found in the northern Gulf of California. However, over the past 40 years, the vaquita's range within the Gulf has greatly decreased along with their population to a small portion in the west of the Vaquita Refuge area. The population decline from 2011 to 2019 was 98.6%, and it is estimated that fewer than 19 vaquitas were alive as of the summer of 2018. This is largely as a result of illegal fishing practices, including the use of gill nets in banned areas, boat strikes, and bycatch caused by shrimp trawlers. Gill nets are fishing nets that are deployed by vertical attachment to the bottom of the ocean or suspension from the surface. Fish swim into these nets, and their spines and gills become entangled. The vaquitas are not more vulnerable to gill nets than other cetacean species, but their extremely small distribution and the intense fishing pressure in that area compound on one another. So why are the vaquita going extinct? Some background information is that the vaquita weighs around 22.3 kilograms and has an average lifespan of 20 years. The vaquita becomes sexually mature at 3 to 6 years of age, and each reproductive event yields only one calf every 1 to 2 years. Genetic analysis indicates that the population sizes of the vaquita have always been small. This late maturity, small natural population, and low fecundity results in severe decline in the population when high bycatch rates are in effect. The vaquita population has been steadily declining since the 1980s because of gill net usage for the hunting of tataoba, a fish highly sought by the cartels for their swim bladders to be sold to China. And these gill nets were banned in the vaquita protected zones in 2015 and 2017, but they are still illegally used, amassing large amounts of bycatch, upwards of 39 vaquitas per year. The vaquita's current range coincides with the highest area of illegal gill net fishing. To prevent extinction, all bycatch mortality must be stopped. This would include changing fishing gear and limiting or closing of fisheries, which would create consequences such as job and income loss for the local fishing industry. Further, many politicians, government officials, and even some researchers openly denied the existence of the vaquita for some time, which garnered even more opposition against community support for their protection. So there are many methods for their conservation, but we will be focusing on 3. Number 1, captive breeding was considered as it would allow scientists to grow the population in a safe environment and help the population to reproduce at levels unattainable in the wild. 2, in 2005, there was a refuge area for the protection of the vaquita. This refuge program had 5 goals: minimize the impacts to the vaquita population while supporting the communities that depend on resources from the refuge area, encourage people to take up other careers or learn to use different technology, increase socioeconomic and biological research, get the community involved in restoration conservation through education outreach, and lastly, implement stricter enforcement of regulations in the refuge area. In 2008, the Mexican government implemented Pez Vaquita. The goal of Pez Vaquita was to promote alternative fishing methods, increase the size of protected areas with bans, and provide financial compensation to fishermen willing to abide by the ban. So what were they effective? Did they work? No. So for captive breeding, historically for small cetaceans, zoos and aquariums were not adequately trained for their care. This stems from an uncertainty of proper husbandry techniques, which greatly increases risks of the animal being injured or not acclimating to the captive environment. Also, many times the animals are injured during capture as a result of poor capture techniques. The picture is of a rescue attempt in 2017 by a program called the Vaquita CPR, which ended in the death of the vaquita from cardiac arrest due to the stress of being captured. This program was closed soon after. Because of these factors, many small cetaceans caught from the wild would not breed in captivity because of the improper care and sustained injuries, as was seen in the Baiji river dolphin, amongst others. The refuge program was likely doomed from the start, as it relied heavily on the voluntary support of the fishermen and communities, and the money given to the local governments for implementing the program was often used for buying other things, such as boat engines. If implemented properly, the program would have likely failed anyway. The banned nets were made with 6-inch mesh or larger. The vaquitas have been caught in nets with mesh sizes ranging from 2 to 4 inches. The banned nets only catch 7 vaquita per year, and the banned fishing zones only exist in 1/4 of the vaquita's range. It was also extremely difficult to enforce some of these regulations, as they were often contradicted by other regulations, and patrolling oceans required more manpower than was possible. Pez Vaquita was successful in reducing the number of shrimpers using gill nets. As of 2007, 15.6% of artisanal boats switched to vaquita-safe gear. While the program was able to reduce gill net fishing some, the voluntary nature proved to be a major drawback in long-term success. An analysis of fishermen's decisions was conducted using the random utility model, and it determined that fishermen would choose the method of Pez Vaquita that had the highest utility for them. Older fishermen, fishermen skilled in tourism, and fishermen who rely on fishing-related activities were more likely to participate. All others did not participate and enjoyed the decrease in competition. The enforcement of the program has relaxed since 2009, and fishing efforts have increased. So contradictions and need of research. There are contradictions in life history traits across articles about the vaquita, including age at sexual maturity and other behavioral aspects. These animals are difficult to survey, which makes population estimations challenging. It is understandable that other aspects of their life history would be difficult to know as well. Another contradiction arose in 2011. The Mexican government declared the vaquita to be in recovery thanks to the PACE Vaquita program. However, there are currently less than 19 alive. For captive breeding to be a successful method, research is needed for the modification of reproductive methods for the vaquita. Scientists also need to look into research to successfully and safely capture the vaquita and keep them alive and healthy in captivity. Also, researchers need to quantify the monetary loss due to the biodiversity decline if the vaquita go extinct and potential monetary gains if the population size was to increase, as people tend to be very monetarily driven. All of this aside, according to Rojas Bracho et al. 2006, saving the vaquita depends on better management strategies, not more research. So, in conclusion, it is recommended that officers check boats at the docks for gill nets before they go out to sea, as ocean patrolling is not effective. Vaquita safe labeling of products is needed. Some suggest boycotting Mexican shrimp, though this could create unnecessary conflict. Instead, there needs to be partnerships between restaurants, supermarkets, and scientists. For PACE Vaquita, the best method is the switching method to completely safe vaquita gear, as it is actively providing fishermen with safer types of gear and discouraging the use of gill nets. Higher compensation is also recommended for fishermen willing to participate in this program. Lastly, having alternative job training opportunities for fishermen who currently rely on fishing for their livelihood could help encourage them to decrease fishing efforts and engage in other trades. While these recommendations could help, the focus now needs to turn towards obtaining political and community support for conservation efforts. For example, encouraging ecotourism in the area and implementing better co-managing strategies between the locals and the government. Sufficient research has been done to demonstrate that management practices need to change. The change just needs to happen. Regrettably, the time to implement such change may quickly run out. It might be time to look into thinking about what the ramifications of the loss of the vaquita will be on the environment and how to manage those consequences, as the extinction of the small cetacean is becoming inevitable. These are my literature references, graphics, and then so during this project I donated to several marine mammal conservation societies, including the Porpoise Conservation Society and the Marine Mammal Rehabilitation Center. So if you are interested or able, these species really need it, so consider donating. Thank you.